At Thanksgiving dinner, my mother-in-law Patricia stood up in front of 20 family members and called me Golddigger trash who trapped my son for his money. I calmly pulled out our prenuptial agreement and read aloud that my net worth was $1.8 million while her son's was $340,000. The silence that followed was deafening, and what happened next destroyed her reputation forever. Before I dive into this story of holiday family drama and the most satisfying financial revelation imaginable, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you've ever been accused of gold digging when you were actually the one with the gold, and subscribe to True Revenge for more stories of mother-in-law assumptions backfiring spectacularly. My name is Amanda, I'm 29 years old, and until this past Thanksgiving I tried to maintain peace with my husband's family despite their constant assumptions about my motives for marriage. This story begins with 2 years of whispered accusations and ends with prenuptial documents that expose the truth about who really brought wealth to my marriage. I met my husband Ryan 3 years ago at a charity fundraiser in Chicago. I was there as a board member for the nonprofit I helped establish, and he was attending as a guest of his company. We struck up a conversation about community development projects, and I was impressed by his genuine interest in social causes. Ryan works as a project manager for a mid-sized construction company. He's hardworking, kind, and passionate about affordable housing initiatives. He earns a solid middle-class income of about $75,000 annually, lives in a modest apartment, and drives a practical Honda Civic that he bought used. What Ryan didn't know about me initially was the extent of my financial success. I'm the founder and CEO of Sterling Consulting, a boutique firm that specializes in helping nonprofits optimize their operations and fundraising strategies. I started the company 5 years ago with $200,000 in savings and a business loan. Through a combination of strategic planning, excellent client relationships, and growing demand for nonprofit consulting services, Sterling Consulting has become extremely successful. We now employ 12 people and generate annual revenues of $3.2 million. My personal net worth, including business equity, real estate investments, and financial assets, is approximately $1.8 million. I've always been modest about my financial situation. I live in a comfortable but not ostentatious condo, drive a practical car, and prefer spending money on experiences and charitable giving rather than luxury goods. When Ryan and I began dating, he knew I owned a consulting business, but I didn't emphasize how successful it had become. This discretion was partly intentional. I'd previously dated men who became either intimidated by my financial independence or overly interested in my wealth rather than in me as a person. With Ryan, I wanted to build a relationship based on genuine compatibility rather than financial considerations. After dating for 8 months, I gradually shared more details about my business success with Ryan. He was impressed and supportive, but what I appreciated most was that my wealth didn't change how he treated me or our relationship dynamic. "I'm proud of what you've built," he told me when I explained the scope of my business. It shows incredible drive and intelligence. But I fell in love with Amanda the person, not Amanda the CEO. His family, however, had a very different reaction when they learned about my financial success. Ryan's mother, Patricia, is a 58-year-old retired elementary school teacher who has very strong opinions about relationships, money, and social class. She raised Ryan and his younger brother in a working-class household and is extremely proud of their family's values of hard work and financial responsibility. When Ryan first introduced me to his family, Patricia was polite but distant. She asked questions about my background, education, and work, but seemed skeptical about my answers. "Consulting," she repeated when I explained my career. "That's such a vague term. What do you actually do?" When I described helping nonprofits improve their effectiveness, Patricia's expression suggested she didn't consider this real work compared to traditional jobs like teaching or construction. Our first few family gatherings were cordial but tense. Patricia would make subtle comments about people who talk a big game or who live beyond their means. She'd praise Ryan's practical lifestyle while making pointed observations about people who prioritized appearance over substance. The dynamic became more hostile after Ryan and I got engaged and Patricia learned more details about my financial situation. During our engagement party planning, Patricia discovered that I was paying for most of the celebration costs. Instead of being appreciative, she became suspicious. "Why is Amanda paying for everything?" she asked Ryan during a family dinner I didn't attend. "What kind of woman insists on controlling the finances like that?" Ryan explained that I had offered to pay because I had more disposable income, but Patricia interpreted this as evidence of manipulative behavior. "She's trying to make you dependent on her money," Patricia warned Ryan. "This is how gold diggers operate. They use financial control to trap men." Patricia's suspicions intensified when she learned about our living arrangements. After our engagement, Ryan moved into my condo because it was larger and more convenient for both our work commutes. Patricia saw this as further proof of my alleged manipulation. "She's isolating him from his family and making him dependent on her housing," Patricia told Ryan's brother Kevin. "This is textbook gold digger behavior." The irony of Patricia's accusations was profound. She was convinced I was a gold digger despite the fact that I was financially supporting aspects of our relationship because I had significantly more money than Ryan. Tricia's campaign against me became more overt as our wedding approached. She would make comments to extended family members about how some women target successful men and how Ryan has always been too trusting for his own good. "I just hope Ryan knows what he's getting into," she'd say to relatives, implying that I had hidden motives for marrying her son. The accusations created tension between Ryan and his mother. He defended me consistently, but Patricia's constant criticism of my character and motives was stressful for our relationship. "My mom will come around eventually," Ryan assured me. "She's just protective and needs time to get used to the idea that I'm married." But Patricia's behavior actually escalated after our wedding. When Ryan and I got married, we signed a prenuptial agreement at my insistence. I wanted to protect my business assets and ensure that both of us entered marriage with clear expectations about financial responsibilities. Prenup process required full financial disclosure from both parties. My assets totaled $1.8 million, including my business equity, real estate, retirement accounts, and liquid investments. Ryan's assets totaled $340,000, including his retirement savings, car, and personal possessions. Prenup primarily protected my assets from becoming marital property, since I was bringing significantly more wealth to the marriage. It also specified that neither party would have claims on the other's premarital assets in the event of divorce. We kept the details of our prenup private, sharing only with our attorneys and financial advisors. Neither of us saw any reason to discuss our respective financial situations with our families. After our wedding, Patricia's accusations about my being a gold digger continued and became bolder. She would make comments at family gatherings about how some people marry for money instead of love while looking directly at me. During holiday celebrations, Patricia would praise Ryan's work ethic and financial responsibility while making pointed comments about people who live off others or who aren't satisfied with honest work. "Ryan has always been so generous," she'd say. "I hope people don't take advantage of his kind heart and his success." The implication was always clear. She believed I had married Ryan for his money and was somehow exploiting his generosity. This past Thanksgiving, Patricia's accusations reached a breaking point. The celebration was held at Ryan's brother Kevin's house, with about 20 family members in attendance, including grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins. I had brought an expensive wine collection as my contribution to the dinner, which Patricia immediately criticized as showing off. During the dinner, the conversation turned to holiday plans and vacation destinations. Ryan mentioned that we were planning a trip to Europe for our anniversary, funded by my recent business success. "Must be nice to have someone else pay for your vacations," Patricia said loudly enough for the entire table to hear. "Mom," Ryan said uncomfortably, "Amanda is paying for the trip with money from her own business." "Right," Patricia replied sarcastically. "Her consulting business." The conversation continued uncomfortably, with Patricia making increasingly direct comments about people who live above their means and who aren't honest about where their money comes from. After dinner, as we were having dessert, Patricia apparently decided she'd had enough of pretending to be polite. She stood up from her chair, wine glass in hand, and addressed the entire room. "I think it's time someone said what we're all thinking," Patricia announced. "Amanda is a gold digger trash who trapped my son for his money." The entire room fell silent. 20 family members stared at Patricia, then at me, waiting to see how this confrontation would unfold. "She saw that Ryan was successful and stable, and she went after him like a predator," Patricia continued. "Now she's living in luxury off my son's hard work while pretending to be some kind of businesswoman." I felt my face flush with anger and embarrassment, but I forced myself to remain calm. This was the moment I had been preparing for since Patricia first started her accusations. "Patricia," I said quietly, "since you've decided to make this public, I think it's time we discuss the actual financial facts of my marriage to Ryan." I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder I had brought to dinner, anticipating that Patricia might escalate her accusations during the holiday gathering. "This is our prenuptial agreement," I said, opening the folder. "Since you've accused me of marrying Ryan for his money, let me read the relevant financial disclosures." The room was completely silent as I found the appropriate page. According to the legal documents we filed with our attorney, my premarital net worth is $1.8 million, including business equity, real estate investments, and liquid assets. I paused to let this information sink in before continuing. Ryan's premarital net worth is $340,000, including his retirement accounts, car, and personal possessions. The silence in the room was deafening. Patricia's face had gone completely white. "So when you suggest that I married Ryan for his money," I continued, "the actual financial facts show that I brought more than 5 times as much wealth to this marriage as he did." I closed the folder and looked directly at Patricia. "The prenup I insisted on signing protects my assets from becoming marital property. So if anyone married for financial gain in this relationship, it would be Ryan benefiting from access to my wealth, not the other way around." Patricia stood frozen, opening and closing her mouth without making any sound. "Additionally," I said, "since you've questioned the legitimacy of my business, I should mention that Sterling Consulting generates over $3 million in annual revenue and employs 12 people. The European vacation you criticized is being paid for with profits from my company, not Ryan's income." Ryan looked mortified but also somewhat relieved that the truth was finally being revealed. Several family members were staring at Patricia with expressions of shock and disapproval. "I didn't share my financial information before because I wanted to be loved for who I am, not what I have," I continued. "But since Patricia has chosen to publicly question my motives and character, I felt obligated to correct the record with facts rather than assumptions." Patricia finally found her voice. I didn't know." "You didn't know because you never asked," I replied. "You made assumptions based on your own prejudices and spent 2 years attacking my character without bothering to learn the truth." Ryan's grandmother, a sharp 84-year-old woman who commanded respect from the entire family, spoke up from across the table. "Patricia, you owe Amanda an apology," she said firmly. "What you've done is shameful." Several other family members began expressing their shock at Patricia's behavior and their embarrassment about how I had been treated. "I can't believe you've been saying these things about Amanda," said Ryan's Aunt Carol. "She's been nothing but generous and kind to this family." Patricia tried to backtrack. "I was just trying to protect Ryan." I thought. "You thought what?" Ryan interrupted, his voice angrier than I'd ever heard it. "You thought you knew better than I did about my own wife? You thought it was appropriate to attack Amanda's character in front of our entire family?" The rest of the evening was extremely uncomfortable. Patricia made several attempts to apologize, but her explanations focused more on her misunderstanding rather than acknowledging the cruelty of her behavior. "I'm sorry if I was wrong about your financial situation," she said to me privately. "I was just trying to look out for Ryan." "Patricia, you weren't wrong about my financial situation," I replied. "You were wrong about my character. You decided I was a gold digger without any evidence, and you spent 2 years treating me like a criminal because of your assumptions." The drive home from Thanksgiving was the first honest conversation Ryan and I had about his mother's behavior and its impact on our marriage. "I'm so sorry," Ryan said. "I knew my mother was being difficult, but I didn't realize how cruel she was being or how wrong she was about everything." "Ryan, your mother has been calling me a gold digger for 2 years while I was financially supporting aspects of our relationship," I pointed out. The irony is that she was accusing me of the exact opposite of what was actually happening. Ryan acknowledged that he should have confronted his mother's behavior more directly and earlier. "I kept hoping she'd come around on her own, but I should have shut down her accusations immediately," he admitted. The aftermath of the Thanksgiving confrontation permanently changed family dynamics. Patricia's reputation within the extended family was seriously damaged. Relatives who had previously respected her opinions began questioning her judgment and her treatment of me. "I can't believe Patricia was so wrong about Amanda," Ryan's cousin mentioned at a later gathering. "And the way she attacked her in front of everyone was horrible." Several family members approached me privately to apologize for not defending me against Patricia's accusations. "I always thought something seemed off about Patricia's complaints," Ryan's uncle said. "Amanda never acted like someone who was after money. I should have spoken up." Patricia made several attempts to repair her relationship with both Ryan and me, but the damage was extensive and lasting. She sent a long email apologizing for her misunderstanding about my financial situation and her concerns about my motives. But the apology focused on being wrong about facts rather than acknowledging the cruelty of her behavior. "I realize now that you're very successful in your own right," she wrote. "I hope we can move past this misunderstanding and rebuild our relationship." I responded that her accusations hadn't been a misunderstanding about my finances, they had been a deliberate character assassination based on prejudice rather than evidence. "Patricia, you spent 2 years calling me a gold digger and treating me like a criminal," I wrote back. "This wasn't about my financial situation. This was about your decision to attack my character without bothering to learn who I actually am." 6 months later, Patricia and I have a polite but distant relationship. She attends family gatherings and is civil to me, but we don't have personal conversations or spend time together outside of required family events. Ryan's relationship with his mother has been permanently affected by her treatment of me. He still loves her, but he no longer seeks her advice or shares personal details about our marriage. "I realize that my mother's opinions about relationships and money are based on prejudice rather than wisdom," Ryan told me recently. "I can't trust her judgment about important things in my life." The experience taught me several important lessons about family relationships and financial assumptions. First, people often project their own insecurities and limitations onto others. Patricia's accusations about gold digging said more about her own relationship with money and success than about my character. Second, financial success can make you a target for accusations and jealousy, even from people who should be supportive. My discretion about my wealth was intended to avoid exactly this type of problem, but it backfired by allowing false narratives to develop. Third, documentation and evidence are powerful tools for confronting false accusations. Prenup that Patricia had probably hoped would expose me as a gold digger became the evidence that proved the opposite. Most importantly, I learned that trying to keep peace by tolerating character assassination doesn't protect relationships, it enables abuse. I should have confronted Patricia's accusations much earlier instead of hoping they would stop on their own. By allowing her behavior to continue, I gave her time to spread false narratives and create family drama that could have been avoided. Today, Ryan and I have a strong marriage built on mutual respect and honesty. My business continues to grow, and my net worth has increased to over $2.3 million. Patricia occasionally makes awkward attempts to show interest in my business success, asking questions about consulting or mentioning articles about successful women entrepreneurs. But these efforts feel hollow given her previous behavior. The most ironic outcome is that Patricia now brags to her friends about having a successful businesswoman as a daughter-in-law, conveniently forgetting her years of gold digger accusations. If you've ever been accused of gold digging when you were actually financially independent, remember that such accusations often say more about the accuser's mindset than about your character. Document your assets, maintain clear financial boundaries, and don't let other people's insecurities dictate how you handle your financial privacy. Most importantly, don't tolerate character assassination in the name of keeping family peace. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for a relationship is to demand honesty and respect. If you enjoyed this story of Thanksgiving accusations and prenup vindications served cold, please give this video a like and subscribe to True Revenge for more stories of family assumptions backfiring spectacularly. Share your own experiences with gold digger accusations in the comments below. Have you ever been accused of financial motivations when you were actually financially independent? Remember that your worth isn't determined by others' ability to see it, and anyone who attacks your character based on assumptions rather than evidence has revealed more about themselves than about you. Thank you for listening to my story of holiday family drama and prenuptial justice. Sometimes the best response to false accusations is simply having the receipts that prove the truth.